Hello Internet, I am the Hero of Julios once again with another Dungeons & Dragons video. In this video, we're going to talk about a subject that came up when I was discussing with my brother about 5th edition and how it handles its classes and subclasses, and how if you play a class right, you can basically become any class you want without leaving your specific class. So, granted I'm taking a couple liberties here, I would like to go down the other classes in Dungeons & Dragons and see how the Cleric overlaps into them. The reason I'm picking the Cleric is that is my brother's favorite class, and that's the reason we began picking this. So this is how, if you wanted to play as a Cleric, but still wanted to touch on a secondary class without multi-classing, this is what you can do. The Paladin. The Paladin was the easiest class to come up with this, strictly because pretty much they're the same thing. A Paladin can basically be described as a very aggressive cleric. So, you know how Paladins have their, awesome Divine Smite? Well, clerics have that ability. Once they hit 8th level, they're able to, anytime they hit an enemy, deal an extra d8 of radiant damage. This then increases to 2d8s at a later level. However, the difference is, clerics don't have to expend a spell slot to do this. It is just something they naturally are capable of the first time they hit something each round of combat. Both classes also have Channel Divinity, and their spell lists cover a wide variety of the same spells. The only difference being that the Cleric is capable of casting far higher level spells than what the Paladin can do. The Barbarian. Barbarians are known for having a ton of HP and the ability to rage, allowing them to reduce the incoming damage coming towards them. This is pretty much covered by being a cleric. Yeah, you don't have as high of a health pool, but you can heal any of the damage you take. Yes, you won't be able to take a 200 damage hit to the face like a barbarian can. However, as a cleric, you are able to heal back any damage you take, something a barbarian cannot do. Furthermore, your rage ability as a cleric can come in the form of the War Domain's final ability, which allows them to mitigate bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage just like a barbarian. Yes, this is an ability they get at a far higher level compared to a barbarian's rage, but it is an ability that they have that is strikingly similar. The Druid. The Druid is the cleric's sister healing class. And yeah, I know Moon Circle Druid is the go-to choice for druids. However, thanks to certain subclasses, the cleric is capable of casting polymorph, allowing them to not only turn into the same beasts that druids can turn into, but they can actually turn into more powerful, larger beasts than what the druid can. They don't retain their intelligence or their wisdom, but we're trying to be a cleric that is part druid, not a cleric that is a druid. Furthermore, if you go down the nature domain specifically, anything a druid can do, such as controlling plants and animals, speaking to the creatures of the woodlands, these are all things a nature cleric can do. So if you're trying to play a cleric with a more druidic approach, consider the nature domain. That's pretty much the same thing. The Fighter. Ah yes, the Fighter class. The natural white bread of D&D. And by the way, when I'm not DMing, the Fighter is my favorite class to play, so it's not like I hate this class. The Fighter is the Fighter. They get a lot of ability score improvements, and they can attack 4 times in a single turn. Along with their action surge and maybe a second weapon in hand, the Fighter can do up to 9 attacks in a single turn at max level. However, those 9 slices that the Fighter can do to a target or two is nothing compared to a pillar of fire brought down by the cleric's god in a holy, wrathful blast that wipes out the entire population of a small kobold village. So yeah, when it comes to fighters, clerics, pretty much any class can do what a fighter can do. The Monk. Pretty much the cleric spell list can do what the monk can do. Are we talking about hold person, or are we talking about stunning strike? The timeless body ability of a monk? Yeah, clerics once per day can make food and water. In fact, they can actually make food and water as many spell slots as they have. So your timeless body never needing food or water, the cleric can just pray, and boom, they don't need food and water either. Oh, the monk can punch a lot of times in a single turn? See what I just said about the fighter earlier. The entire population of a small kobold village. An unarmored defense? Shield of Faith. The Ranger. Nobody plays Ranger. The Rogue. I'm just kidding. It's pretty much the same as Druid. The Nature Domain Cleric covers almost everything that a Ranger can pretty much do. Except for animal companions, but clerics have the ability to control animals, so almost the same thing. The Rogue. A Trickery Domain Cleric has the ability to give advantage to another character. The Trickery Domain Rogue also has the power to turn invisible, and most importantly, the Trickery Domain can create a doppelganger of themselves, giving them advantage on their attacks, and the ability to cast the spells through that doppelganger, allowing them to have the range and sneak attacks that a rogue is capable of. They don't get the extra d6s of damage, but a cleric can become a rogue if they choose the Trickery Domain. Sorcerers and Wizards. Sorcerers and Wizards are known as the powerhouse spellcasters. They are able to cast huge fireballs and massive pillars of flame. You know who also can do that? Small kobold village! But can sorcerers and wizards heal people? Now I know what you're about to say. Oh, but sorcerers and wizards can gain back spell slots. Well, guess what? Thanks to Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, so can clerics. They don't need a long rest to get some of their spell slots back. In fact, clerics don't even need a short rest to gain their spell slots back like the wizard does. They can do a bonus action to gain their spell slots back in the middle of battle. The best bets to try and mimic wizard and sorcerer classes, I would recommend the Tempest and Knowledge domains. The Artificer. You thought I was going to ignore the little extra one, the one that doesn't come in the player's handbook. Well, too bad. It's called the Forge domain of the cleric. Yes, that's right. Clerics have the ability to upgrade armor and weapons and turn them into magical items just like an artificer can. Yeah, they can't bring, little trinkets and odds and ends to life. They can bring back the dead, though. I'd like to see an artificer do that. The Warlock. What's that, Warlock? Oh, you gain your power from a being far more powerful than you as well? Oh, that's amazing. I can't hear you over my multiple 6th level spell slots. And finally, the Bard. The class that can do anything and everything. The jack of all trades ability. The class that is able to do in some part what every other class is capable of. Do you know what that class is called? I just explained it in this video. It's called the Cleric. Now, obviously, every class has things that the Cleric cannot do. But this whole purpose of this video was to show that by how many subclasses there are in 5th edition, it is possible to flavor your character to look or feel like any of the other classes without actually leaving your own class, allowing you to obtain that 20th level ability, but still allowing the other classes, the other players in your life, to influence and change how you perceive your character. This is kind of a new conceptual video for me. I did like playing this little thought exercise to see what trinkets and odds and ends you could grab from the cleric subclasses to mimic the other classes. And if I do this again, I might go into a little more detail, maybe a little more thought into how well, the fighter can look like the other classes, or how well a wizard could. But this is a new concept video, so let me know in the comments if you would actually like to see me continue on with this idea, or if I should go back to focusing on other Dungeons & Dragons videos. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.